Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to a very special extra interview of Final Cut. Today, I'm joined by an actor who has done many things. DC fans will know him as Deadshot from Smallville. Chesapeake fans, or Chessies as they're known, will know him as John Rawl from Chesapeake Shores. Now, you and I know him as Bradley Stryker.
That's right.
Yep. How are you, sir?
Intimately. I'm good. I'm good, actually. Yeah. You know, I'm as good as can be expected. I think that's the right way to say it.
Yeah. All right. So the inevitable question, how did you get started out in acting?
Wow. It's a long answer. I'll give you the short answers. So when I was in college, I was studying to be an exercise and nutrition major, kinesiology major. And I went between my junior and senior years to New York. Got flown out there to do modeling print stuff. Spent the summer there doing that stuff. Didn't really like it at all. But then took a couple of acting classes, fell in love with it. And then when I went back to San Diego, where I was, San Diego State, where I was finishing college, I had to, an elective I hadn't fulfilled. And I went to a class that was going to be my elective. I don't even remember what the class was. And the class was canceled. So I ended up having to go to find a new elective. And I literally walked outside of the class, and right in front of me was the theater. And I went in and I ended up crashing an elective theater course. And from that moment on, I was like, that was my senior year. So I was supposed to graduate and go into kinesiology. And so from that moment on, I was like, wow, okay, this is really what I want to do. And so then, you know, the rest is history. I ended up graduating college end of that semester. And then literally the 2 days after I graduated college, I drove from San Diego to LA, and I started a very long grind.
Indeed. Who are your influences growing up as an actor?
You know, to be honest, once you get into it, you kind of start to gravitate to different people for different reasons. When you're young and you're learning how to do it, you just do what everybody else does. So Pacino, De Niro, Brando, but it's almost cliche to say those names, right? And then you get older and you start to go, well, what about this do I love? What about it do I respect? There'll be performances that pop up and you'll be blown away and you'll be like, wow, that person is quite profound. I mean, they're the obvious ones, Daniel Day-Lewis, Meryl Streep. You know, for me, it's the people who, like, I'm a big fan of English actors because they approach it with a work ethic that is not just over here, I'm good looking, like put me in front of a camera. They know that it's something that needs to be worked on every day. They wake up and they do things to become better every day. When they want to become an actor, they go to university for 4 years and become educated in it. So I approach it from more of a blue collar place. So I'm prone to love theater actors, to love the Viola Davises of the world, because I watch their work in Benjamin Cumberbatch and I go, wow, you know, this is the kind of work I love. It doesn't mean that there's not some people that have come out through Hollywood that I don't really appreciate and love as well. But I'm just prone to people that put in the time to actually learn what it is we do and to understand that it's a craft that must be worked on. You know what I mean? There's certain actors who can play anything and you watch them and you're like, how do they just disappear into everything they do from hard work? They learned how to do that. Then there's certain actors that play themselves in different variations. That's not easy either. So good for them. That's great too. But I'm more prone and drawn to the people who disappear into a lot of different varieties sort of characters. And that's why even when you introduced me and you say John Rawl and then you say Deadshot, if you really look down the resume, there's like a variety of characters from all different walks of life, because I'm interested in what, you know, exploring all these things. Now, you can't play everything, of course, but so long answer, but it'd really be theater actors and people who are constantly pursuing growth and like, how can I figure out, and also, you know, to be honest, people that understand that you're never going to get it right. You're always just going to be exploring something.
Yeah, very true. Oh, yes. Happy 20th anniversary. You started out in 2001, and I believe it was Family Law, Final Screaming. I've been watching you. So in 20 years, did you think you'd have the success you've had?
Well, so technically, I graduated college in 99. So I'm that many years in. What is it, 21 years, I think, is where I've benchmarked it. It's a weird question because the truth of the matter is I'm very fortunate and I've had a lot of really fun jobs and I've been able to work a lot. But if I'm being fully honest, I feel like I'm just getting started. So, am I happy with where I'm at? Sure, of course, I'm grateful. But do I believe that I'm headed to other places and going to get to explore a lot more? Absolutely. You know what I mean? I'm 43 years old. I have a lot more fight left in me. So I'm excited about what's to come. I generally speaking, try and appreciate and be grateful for what's happened before, but I'm really kind of focused on right now and what's coming next.
That's fair enough. You've actually done a fair few movies, but you are known mainly for your TV work, mainly. And this is actually quite an impressive list. I've never really seen a list of TV shows as impressive as this. So there's Angel. So you're my first, I believe, aside from Juliet Landau, you are the first person I've had who actually is related in the Buffy or Angel universe. CSI New York, which at least everyone seems to have done, at least one version of it. You've been in the OC, Cold Case, Stargate Universe, Supernatural, 100, iZombie, and Witness Protection. So what are your highlights of working on those shows?
You know, everyone has its own sort of highlights. I mean, if I'm going to boil it down to one thing, my highlight of any job I've had is the people. We're all human, right? Like that's something, if not right now in 2020, 2021, do we realize how important social interaction and people are to us? But that's one of my favorite parts of all of these jobs. It's the people I've met along the way. The people I've got to work with in an acting sense, but also some of the directors, some of the producers, and also just different characters. I get to crawl into their skin. So each character provides its own challenges. Like you didn't even list one of my favorite characters, which is the Lizzie Borden Chronicles, and character Skipjack I played. And it's one of my favorite characters because a lot of times, you sit down when you open up your actor's toolbox and you decide, I'm gonna, here's the role I'm playing for the next X amount of time. And you start to figure out who they are and play with what the different things are available to you. You also have to realize the medium you're playing in, right? And so the world, like we talked before this about the Hallmark world, is a specific world. The Netflix world can be specific, like Altered Carbon is a specific world. Whereas the comic book world, the DC universe, specific world. So they all come with their limitations. Lizzie Borden was interesting because it didn't come with any of those sort of limitations, a period, dark, sort of sinister thriller. And so I got to pull out more tools and I got to play a little bit more. And I always show up to set ready for, any of the powers that be, producers, director, to go, okay, you know what? There's a lot going on here. Let's just make it simple. Let's do this, that, or the other. But on a world like that, that's a bit of a blank canvas. I brought a lot to it and they let me do it. And so I had an absolute blast. And each character I played has a couple of those things as well. For instance, Deadshot, one of the things I love the most about Deadshot is his stillness. Is that he was just so laser focused, which makes sense because Deadshot, so laser focused on everything he did that it was like everything was methodical. So if you found any bit of a flowiness happening, then I'd be like, no, Bradley, that's not him. And so, and then we talked John Rawl, another example of somebody who's kind of built on tragedy.
Yeah, definitely.
So you build him on that tragedy, and then and then the Hallmark world decides how much I lean into that.
There is actually a TV show on your resume that I haven't actually mentioned, and it's actually one that not many people know of. It's actually a show called Las Vegas. It actually had James Caan, Josh Duhamel, Vanessa Marcel. I think I'm pronouncing that guy's name right. James Lejeune, Nikki Cox, Marsha Thomason, Britain's own Marsha Thomason, and Molly Sims in lead roles. And it was a show about the employees of a Las Vegas casino called Montecito. Now, up until season 4, I watched it every week without fail. I absolutely loved it. But what was it like to actually film?
Fantastic. So fun. I believe we worked in Culver City. We might have worked in Culver City and then the Valley, or just Culver City. I forget. I worked mostly, I remember working with Josh. It's funny because Josh is obviously, unbearably handsome. And then on top of that, one of the nicest humans So it was like when I was working with him, I was like, oh, of course, it was a really fun show to work on.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing and they were having success and everybody was enjoying. That's what happens when you get on shows. I mean, it was a couple seasons in when I was on it. So when you're in a show that's been going for a couple seasons, usually you find that it becomes a bit of a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, but I loved it.
Yeah, people can have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was actually kind of gutted it got cancelled, but then again, networks have their reasons for doing it. But if somebody said to me, if you could show somebody a TV series from the noughties that's not here today, what would you show someone? First one out of the bat would be Las Vegas.
That's funny. You don't hear that often. That's quite interesting.
I know. I loved it. It was actually, I think I seem to remember it was actually one of the very few TV shows that James Caan actually did.
Exactly. Wait, now, do you have a love affair with Vegas as well?
I have actually been to Las Vegas myself.
Uh-huh.
And I actually went on holiday. I think it was about 10 years ago, actually. I've really been wanting to go back, but the only problem is I have been so convinced by every single Canadian actor, actress that I have seen. I really want to go to Vancouver first.
Oh, that's quite funny. Vancouver is stunning. I mean, this is an amazing city. There's a reason it's so expensive. You seem to figure that out. Like, Vancouver is a funny city, though, to me. I think because I'm not from here. I'm not from Canada. I'm from the States, right? I married into Canada. And one of the funny things, I think of Vancouver in a very funny way. I think of it as a broken promise. People are like, what the hell does that mean? And I said, it's because every time you come to the city, the first thing you'll see when you're like just outside of downtown or in downtown and you're walking down a road and you look through and you see the snow-capped mountain through the glass high-rise buildings, or you see an aerial picture of downtown Vancouver and Stanley Park, you're like, this is one of the most picturesque, beautiful cities in the world. The reason why it's a broken dream is that once you come here, you're like, I just want to go outside. I want to go hiking. I want to go snowboarding. Yeah. And then you go, well, but I can't because it's so expensive. I have to go to work 6 days a week. And you go, that's the broken promise part of it, I say, is that you be careful because, people make jokes, but BC in Canada stands for bring cash.
Yeah.
That's what they
I'll have to remember that, actually. That's actually very good.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I've got plenty of money in retirement fund before I eventually, because I am actually thinking of retiring to Vancouver. But that's providing my retirement fund's big enough.
Because you're British, it's easy, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
For a minute. Now, the inevitable. I did actually watch Chesapeake Shores, courtesy of your bandmate in the Trace Riley band, Brittany Willisey, lovely lady. I will happily admit that now. Now, I will tell you exactly what I told her and Oliver Rice. I did not want to watch it at first, but I must admit, when I saw it, I changed my mind, and now I just can't get enough of it. So I know you've only been in the first 3 seasons, but from your time on there, what was it like to be part of a successful show like that?
It was a blast. Good people, lighthearted. Everybody's having a good time. Again, I believe in the top down. So as long as you don't have anybody ruining the party because there's a thing happening, there's different productions. I've been on so many productions in my 21 years that sometimes you step on the set and you realize there's somebody toxic there and it obliterates the whole thing. It doesn't have that. This is like, you have some older actors that have tons and tons of experience, like Treat Williams. And so you just step onto the set and you go, okay, you see what we got here. Everybody knows what we're making, and it's you can see it in the show. The energy of the show is positive and lighthearted, and it's easy to fall in love with a lot of the characters. And the reason for that is that's what it's really like. So I found it to be an absolute joy, and I got to work a lot with Brittany. And one of the things, I'm sure you got this when you talked to her, she's a very talented musician. And so her and Chessie would actually play the music and jam together, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting to kind of see, like, I felt like the word I would use, if I'm being honest, is it felt very authentic. It felt like everybody was really kind of who they are.
Yeah. I look forward to when season 5 is back on. Now, obviously, every single person who's watched Chesapeake Shores in the first 3 seasons know that you played John Rawl. Now your character had history with Jesse Metcalf's Chase Riley, and as far as I see, John's definitely had the hardest time of all as far as A, that trio goes, and B, the entire cast list, the entire characters in that show go. Would you say that's probably a fair enough statement?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because as actors, they go, here's the guy you're playing, and you say, I'm playing Fred today, and you then go, cool. So Fred is here to do what in this episode, and fall in love with Julia. Great, but to be able to play Fred that falls in love with Julia, you then go, well, hold on, who is Fred? Where did he come from? What is his life? So I go back in my little laboratory, and I actually do find and create things that make him human, and flaws and tragedies and all that other stuff. So that when he goes and falls in love with Julia, it means that much more to all of us, because we go, wow, there's something else happening here. This whole foundation of a human being has been built. So one of the things they gave me is that foundation. They said, this is what's happened to your character. I mean, from the first moment you see me, I was in a wheelchair, right? And I go, oh, brilliant. And just built on it. And even I didn't know Jesse when we started working on the show. We're buddies now, but when I the first moment the door opened and the scene started, there was just this moment of like, he already knew the character was written as, but then there was this moment of like, oh wow, okay, because the show doesn't go there a lot. It doesn't provide a lot of that. And then you realize my character it has a lot of tragedy and flaws. And there's some of the stuff, even that they write and that we've done. There was one episode where one and a half of the scenes were just taken out because I think they realized it's probably a little too dark for the show. And you go, okay, but you know what? This is the character you get to go try that stuff out with. And for me, it makes in my laboratory, if you will, it makes it that much easier to go in there and build the guy when they've given me some really good stuff to build.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you said is absolutely fair to say.
Now, I'm not quite sure if you can answer this or not. Can myself and all the Chesapeake fans expect you back in season 5?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Wasn't it?
We'll put a question mark on that
because the characters. Huge question mark. I mean, but we never know as actors. I mean, you could show up to a show and you do 2 episodes and they're like, you're going to do 12 more and you'll never do any more. You could show up and they'll be like, we love your character. You're going to be with us for a while. And then you get a bullet in the face. So you're like, that's the way our business goes.
All right, then. Now, I have actually had Brittany and a very lovable Englishman known as Oliver Rice previously. They both said the cast are lovely. So with a triple play, so to speak, what are the cast actually like?
I think you already said they're lovely. They're good people.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean,
there we go. It's best to come from the person who's actually been on set rather than the guy who actually likes to look a bit though. I've always said that. It's always better.
Yeah, well, because also the thing is that people like to talk about the drama anyway, especially in the world today. So any little hint of that they'll lean into, but no, it's a bunch of lovely people.
Makes me want to go behind the scenes one day, if that's ever possible, to be honest. Right, so now there is one last thing, and I know my 2 comic book friends as co-hosts will be eager for this. You actually played, I seem to remember, the first live adaptation of Deadshot in Smallville. So how much of an honor was that?
It was fantastic. I mean, so Smallville's a funny show because I auditioned for the show a lot to play a lot of different people and got close to playing a couple of other of these guys. And last season, I ended up coming on as Deadshot. And what was so interesting to me is after studying the comic books and then looking what Deadshot was, in terms of the presentation of him, they changed some things. And then so more of the cowboy feel and all that. But I had an absolute blast playing the guy. I mean, it was just like I said, the stillness of him. Here you have this guy who has this very unique skill set. And then one of the other things that was really quite intriguing is when I showed up, he had a Southern accent. And so I went with the whole thing. And we were doing rehearsals and one of the producers was like, let's try it without the accent. So we did a take without the accent. And then he's like, and I was like, nope. And I went back to the tent where the producers and director and everybody were, and I was like, hey, the accent thing? And the director's like, what's up? And I was like, can I do it? And he's like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I need to do it. It just feels like it feels false. Yeah, go ahead and do it. And then that same producer, when I was walking through the lot later in the day, stopped me. He goes, hey, you were right. Way better with the accent. And I was like, it was one of those things. So one of the things that I love the most, if I'm being totally honest, was creating the character. Like even when I went to wardrobe, we had the idea he's going to be this guy, but there's so many different ways that he could have been presented.
Yeah.
And so when you go in there and you start trying on costumes and figuring out who he was, and that big duster that I am, like, oh yeah, it eventually as you're building it, you become, part of the whole thing. You become part of the whole machine. And what an honor. Absolutely. And also, like, with the honor of that, I also take on, well, there's a lot of people that love this. And now I have to do right by it. And so you sit down again in the old laboratory and put it all together. And what I thought was so sweet when I was on the actual lot and we were filming is grown men were coming up to me and, can I get a picture with you? And I was like, yeah, of course. Because generally that kind of thing will happen, but it won't be another one of my peers, another 30, 40-year-old male saying, can I get a picture with you? But these guys wanted pictures with all the people that played all the supervillains or all of the superheroes. And I was like, this is very endearing, because it also just showed me how important that whole world is and just kept me focused.
Yep. If you ever need to know how important comic book Wetland is, my two Canadian comic book fans, co-hosts, will definitely have you on at any point.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
Well, I'm assuming they will, but I don't think they do love their comic books, so I don't really see it being a problem if you ever want to come on.
They'd be very intrigued by the I think it was the second episode when they did this long shot and then, carving the name into the bullet and all that. Like this, one of the coolest things about that show is the details. So like if you watch that show, even if you watch that scene, the details of this workshop that they set up that we shot in once, that's why it works so well. It's the time and effort of everybody involved honoring how many people like your buddies that absolutely love it.
I must admit, I was a bit shocked by how much you made in 2020. If IMDb is to be believed, you made no more than 10 films, TV series, and shorts. You were kept busy last year, weren't you, sir? The main one that everyone probably should know is actually Out of Carbon Season 2, which, funnily enough, actually has Oliver Rice in it. So at least you two have the same taste in sci-fi ventures. How did you keep so busy last year?
Yeah, that's kind of the story of my life, is that I just like to be busy. I like to be creating. So in addition to being an actor, I'm also a filmmaker and I write and direct my own stuff. So, I'm always juggling a million balls. And last year, there's a lot of things. Well, remember 2020, when I say last year, it's all relative, because some of the things that come out in 2020, I filmed in 2019, so, and the truth of the matter is that it's just like, the more energy I create as a human being, the more I work. So, actors are a breed of human that really, until you reach a certain status, they just want to work. And then you'd be shocked at how many people that are of that status that still just want to work.
Yeah.
And so you have years that come along, and, I'm a firm believer in luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And one of the things I'm always doing is working at my craft, whether it be writing, directing, or acting. I've been doing this for 21 years, and I'll still find myself in a weekly class, not necessarily learning to act. I know how to do that, but working out like a gym, like you go to the gym, you know what I mean? You don't just get really in good shape and then you stop exercising because you're like, I've done it, because then you'll look like shit in a month.
Yep, definitely.
You have to go in and keep working the muscles and figuring things out. And that's who I am. You know what I mean? That's why, like, when I decided, it was 11 years ago, I was like, I'm going to be a writer. I want to write movies. And now I've written like 28 feature films and like 3 TV shows. It's just one of these things where I believe if you don't do that, if you aren't doing it, then you're not really a writer. If you're not really working the muscles every Tuesday in a class, or, rehearsing and doing things, or doing your vocal warm-ups as much as you can during the week, you're not really doing things. So when you say, why was last year good? because for 21 years I've been doing those things.
Yeah.
You know?
Easy enough answer then.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought writing up actually, because you're not only are you an actor and a writer, but you're also a producer and a director. And you have actually done many a thing involving either one of them or all of them. So for you, what are the challenges from each point of view, from a writer's point of view, a producer's point of view, and a director's point of view? And how hard is it doing all three at the same time?
It's not easy, but it also just depends the way you organize it. So last summer, I wrote, directed, and acted in a movie called Sheltering Season, which, so if I'm going to do all of them and it's going to at once, the key to the acting is preparation. So I prepare it like a play, essentially. So I could show up, and if we wanted to run the movie as one big scene, I could probably do it. Has to be the level of preparation.
Yeah.
It's not like you go, okay, we did that scene, now let me see this scene, you know, which is not really the way I work anyway. But when it comes to all of them, it's homework. So writing would be, the homework is rewriting. Sure, you have an idea. So it makes me, it's a joy of mine when somebody I know writes a script for the first time, or they even write their 10th script. Stryker, I wrote a script. Great. What draft? Will you read it? I'm like, absolutely. What draft do you want? Oh, it's my first draft. I was like, yeah, I'll read it in a year and a half. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you don't want me to read your first draft. Maybe if you're brand new, sure. But the point being is that all of these things take time to learn, right? And so the trick to all of them is that. And before I do a movie, I sit down in front of my TV, open up my computer, start watching, let's say it's a thriller. I start watching thrillers. Okay, so I watched this movie. This is something that I really liked, and basically, you know, I start stealing from other artists and go, oh, wait a minute, I want to try this thing here, and you know, you have your own voice, and then you want to figure out how to play within all of these different things that have also worked. And the trick for me is directing is preparation. So when I show up, I'm already, because the thing about directing a movie that's so difficult is it's never linear. So you're shooting scenes that are all over the map. And then you're sitting down and you're like, whoa, okay, now we're doing scene 63. Well, where's this in the web of the story? And if you haven't sat down and spent a lot of time mapping it out so you can open up your notebook and go, yes, this is what's happening, you're dead in the water. That's the thing too, the thing that not drives me nuts, but the thing that I don't understand, whether it be acting, writing, or directing, is, you know, to do something creative, right? Look, let's say I painted this, which I didn't. My 5-year-old son did. Okay. So if I painted this and I called you up and I was like, guess what? I'm an artist. You're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've taken up painting. You're like, okay. And I was like, there's some sort of an idea out there that now makes me a painter. That doesn't make me a painter. You know what I mean? And listen, the screenwriting software is $150. Everybody's a screenwriter now, but they don't actually put any time or effort into learning how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, everybody, you know, there's so many people that are the best looking kid in their hometown in Missouri. And they moved to Hollywood and they're like, I'm an actor. You're an actor? That's great. Good for you. And they're like, yeah, I took an acting class once. And like, it's not quite how it works, actually. No. And so, you know, long answer again, but really, if you focus it in on what I'm saying, it's like, it's always about the preparation. It makes it so that it's not otherwise you can't do all of them. And I've seen people try and do all of them and they fail miserably. And it's because they don't actually do any of the preparation. Do you know what I mean? They just show up. Well, I hope it works. Well, that's not going to happen. So, you know, I drink a lot of coffee is the real answer.
Well, yeah, that's what I've got in my cup, actually. So, touche there.
Yeah, well, you know, always you'll see two things I have on me. It's my water and my coffee. You know, hydrate, dehydrate, bro.
Yeah. I probably should show you what I've got, but it's a Marvel mug, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to go down.
Fine. Listen, we don't just love what we do; we love all of it. You got to, right?
Yeah. There's always those that don't, but then again, that's just that lot. Just before I go through your Instagram. Have you got anything coming up that's going to be released soon that you can talk about, or anything you want to promote?
You know, promoting is, kind of futile at this point, but the movie I wrote and directed, Sheltering Season, we're in finishing post in the next probably like six to 8 weeks. And so we'll start selling that in spring. I'm excited about that. It's a contained thriller. It's gonna be pretty exciting. We were told, who knows, we shot in July last year.
Yeah.
So we were told we were the first independent film greenlit in Canada, which was an honor and also very exciting. And you look at the cast of that, and it's all working actors, and we had a absolute blast. And so I'm really excited to share that. And it was, they're all kind of labors of love in the indie world, but this particular one was people who showed up, all friends and all people who were like, let's just do this. There was one day when we had the directors of photography of 3 major CW shows on our set holding flags. And I was like, what are you doing here? They're like, I've been in the house for 4 months. I'm going insane. And they were all friends of people, right? And it was just one of these really lovely moments when like the community sort of Vancouver showed up to, let's do something. You know what I mean? We're tired of being at home. This has been a rough year for everyone. And so that's something I'm pretty excited about, if I'm being honest. And then I don't even remember what I have left. I just did an episode of Law and Order, which is, I don't know when this will air, but I went to New York and did an episode of that. And that was a really sort of fun character. So I would tell people to just check that out right now, because it's a very sort of very twisted sort of individual, which I really love doing. And yeah, I mean, I think those would be the 2 things I have right now. I also played a part in the movie Let 'Em Go, which is the Kevin Costner, Diane Lane movie. So if you didn't see it, and they had a theatrical release, believe it or not, but it's now on demand. So you can rent it, but it'll be streaming, I imagine, within the year. So that's another one to check out.
I'm actually glad you brought Letting Go up. I was going through your Instagram when I was doing these questions. Now, I did find the usual stuff. I found family photos, promotional photos from majority of your films and TV shows. And as always, the views of Vancouver and British Columbia, which just make everyone else just insanely jealous. Yep. But I did find something actually, and it actually involves one of the former presidents of the United States, Barack Obama. It's actually a tweet. I think it's a tweet from 3 weeks or so ago. It was actually a list of TV and films that were his favorites in 2020, and it ranges from Better Call Saul, Queen's Gambit to Nomadland, and to Letting Go, which is a movie that you starred in. So how does it feel knowing that a movie you starred in is one of Barack Obama's favorites of 2020?
Wow, I mean, it's amazing. I don't ever think in terms of like who saw it, And so for somebody I very much respect to show up on his sort of list that he does every year and I didn't even know about this list, if I'm being completely honest. Somebody else told me and sent it to me, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, this is very cool. And so, to be in a movie that's on that list is, I'm grateful. I think it's definitely made me smile. And also, people in my life that have the same sort of feelings that I do towards the man in terms of respect. We're like, this is amazing. So it's there's little checkpoints along the way, right? I think one of the things I said when we started is I feel like I've just begun, and I've just got so much left in me. And so these little checkpoints like that along the way just keep you smiling and motivated and keep going. Because, one of the things that I'm not sure if anybody, your listeners, or any of the other actors would ever talk about it, but one of the most interesting things about being an actor is the mentality of it is, most human beings in a lifetime have a very finite amount of job interviews. That's our job. And literally, when I say that's our job, I don't mean, because I'm very much, a blue collar actor who does a lot of different things. That's everyone's job. Because when the big movie's coming out and, the big movie stars all want to play this one role, they all have to then somehow find their way to put their name in the hat, whether it be, Brad Pitt, Christian Bale, Matt Damon, Leo. They all want to play this role because it has everything in the world. There's sort of a weird, convoluted, even job interview portion of that sort of a thing. And it's very intriguing business for that, because when you're like like I say, blue collar actors, which would be like your people who are kind of grinding away, jumping from show to show, you basically audition all the time, 3 auditions a week, sometimes more and sometimes less. And so that's the hardest part of all of this. So you need these checkpoints like the Obama list, and somebody saying something nice. I mean, even to be honest, you calling me up and saying, hey, will you do this interview? I'm like, absolutely, because it gives me a chance to like stop working on what's coming next and answer questions about what I've done. Because I don't spend very little time sitting around thinking about what I've done because I'm so ambitious for what's coming next.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Just briefly before we go into the quiz, have you got any social media where if anybody wants to follow you, they actually can?
Sure. It's just my name, Bradley Stryker. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is all the same. I'm not, Instagram's though, I'll put stuff on Instagram and then mostly just forward it onto Facebook and Twitter. I'm not a big social media guy, but I do like to keep people informed. My mother used to take care of that, and she's no longer with us, so that it's now kind of fallen back on me, and so I have to find a way to get that out there as well. But it's made it easy. Just my name. That's it.
That's it.
That's what it is.
And followed, sir.
There we go.
There we go. Easily done, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I look forward to this with every cast member of Chesapeake Shores that I have on here. It is the Why Am I So Popular quiz. It's Chesapeake edition. So all it is you have 4 missed calls. So you can call one, text one, ignore one, and block one. I'll put it in the chat just in case you get a bit lost, which I think Oliver Weiss actually did, bless him. So since you're in Chesapeake Shores, and I love that show, there will be 2. There'll be a men's and a women's. But we'll start with the women's first. So Bradley Stryker, the man who once portrayed a man who never misses. Your first one consists of Megan Orry, who plays Abby, Lacey J. Maley, is it Malley, who plays Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Amelia, who plays Bree, and your bandmate in the Tracer Riley band, Brittany Willisey. Now, just so you know, it's just a bit of fun. It's not to be taken too seriously. So I don't expect anybody to get death threats from anyone saying, why did you block me? And why did you not call me?
Well, it's easy. I would put it in the order of how well I know them.
That's easy.
So I would probably answer, what could be either one of them? I'd answer Brittany's phone call.
Yeah.
I'd text Amelia. So then I would ignore Lacey because I kind of know her, and I don't know Megan that well, believe it or not. So I block her.
Even though you shared quite a few scenes with her on-screen boyfriend, which is actually quite hard to believe. But then again, it's just a case of, I think Oliver was saying. Exactly. Oliver was saying this last time. He didn't really spend much time. I think it was with Abby. I think he seems to recall him saying. But yeah, fair enough, sir. I like the way you just so easily went through that. That was like the easiest one that anyone's ever done. So congratulations.
Also because I don't take it seriously. Like I would answer all the calls.
Yeah. All right, then. So the guys, there is obviously Jesse Metcalf, who is in a band, but also puts your character in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. There's Treat Williams, who is the man who knows everything and gives you wonderful advice throughout the season. And then there's the 2 brothers. There's Andrew Francis and Brendan Penny.
Well, see, now it's hard because I know almost all of them. So I would answer Jesse's call because we're buddies.
Yeah.
Between Andrew and Brendan, there's no possible right answer because they're both buddies. So I guess I'll text with Andrew and then I'll ignore Brendan because he lives too far away.
I love this.
And I treat, I'll block. But actually, if I'm being totally honest, I might just answer Treat's call first because I'd be so fucking intrigued, excuse my language, if Treat called me. So that would be, I might have to answer the call. I might have to break your game into pieces. Yeah. But yeah, so there you go. That would be my.
You know what you could have said? You could have said I'll block Treat, but it doesn't matter because he will find a way to get in touch with me anyway.
Exactly. Because I also feel like Treat would be calling me about doing a play, which would mean I definitely put him first.
Yep. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that's how easy this quiz can be. So obviously you've started quite a bit. So I'm going to give you a number of movie genres, and you have to say yes or no as to whether you accept them. Can't get my words out now. Accept an offer to appear in them. Sorry. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 different genres. I'm sure there's more, but I can only think of 10. So
all I say is yes or no.
Yeah, just yes or no. So science fiction.
Yes.
Yep. Drama.
Yes.
Animation or Japanese anime.
Yes.
No. What about horror?
Yeah.
Easy. So easy going. What about action?
Yes.
Technically, you've already done that with Deadshot. What about a comedy, romance, or a combination of both and rom-com?
Yes. I'm gonna say yes to everything.
I don't think you'll say yes to this next one. Musical.
Oh no, I can't do that. Yeah.
All right then. This is actually quite a one, and I actually say this just about every time I have one of these. It's a genre of movie we don't really see that often. What about a western?
Put it at the top of the list, bro. Come on, a western. Oh yes, that's like a dream.
Just need to get one sorted now.
Right.
Right. The last one is a bit of a ishy debate because there's not really been that many good ones of these. So what about video games turned into movies? So I'll give you an example. The newest Mortal Kombat trailer went up a couple of weeks ago, so it's kind of stuff like that.
That's the easiest yes ever. They have so much money. Video games make billions of dollars. So when they call me to do a video game movie, I'm just backing the money truck up.
Yeah. But it just depends on which one it is, obviously, because there might be some that you don't actually want to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm being facetious a little bit, but yes, I would love. See, the thing for me is that again, because when you present all these things, it's not about the genre. It would be the character that I would say yes or no to.
Yeah, I like it. You see, this is a simplified way of doing it.
It's a total simple. So my answer, except for musicals, and here's the side note: is there are hundreds, if not thousands, there's thousands of people who understand the theater for real, and that would tell me, because I sitting here today don't think I can sing and dance, that I say I can't do a musical is actually false. Because in the real theater world, there is a strong belief that anybody can learn to do that. Now, am I ever going to be like the gentleman in Hamilton? No. But could I learn to do something presentable? Sure. And there's actually some stuff. I think it was it Judi Dench that didn't do musical theater, and then she did one, and it was there's the video you can watch of her process of learning how to do it, and it's absolutely the best because she's just going for it. And it might not have been her, but I think it was. Anyway, there's different people who along the way have gone, well, I don't sing and dance, and somebody goes, but I can help you do that. So even my no could be turned to a yes if I was willing to spend the year learning how.
Is that an invitation for anybody who wants to cash in a theatre flavour with a musical?
Well, I mean, it's a warning. If you take that as an invitation, you're the most optimistic human being on the planet.
Always got to be optimistic, though. All right, then, since you are a director, I'm going to give you. I'm the head of a very powerful movie studio with many millions at my disposal. So I go to you, Bradley Stryker, and say, make your dream movie, but I want to know the 4 leads you have it in store for me. So who do you pick? It can be any 4, it doesn't matter if it's 2 men, 2 women, 3 men, 1 woman, 3 women, 1 man, doesn't matter, as long as you have 4.
It's an impossible question.
I know. Can be made quite easy, though.
An impossible question. Truly impossible. So if I was gonna be making, because even I'm just thinking of my stuff that I've written, but the answer to the impossible question would be, so 4 actors, any 4 I want.
Any 4 you want.
Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Viola Davis, I don't know what this movie is going to be. Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Viola Davis.
Has the makings of a courtroom drama, sir.
Who would be John Leguizamo?
Oh,
you figure out what that's going to be.
I've been waiting for somebody to say his name for months. I absolutely love that guy. I really do.
How do you pull that out of a hat? What a movie!
Indeed.
No idea what it's going to be, but it would be very interesting.
It would be, I would pay good money. Just from those four, I would pay good money to watch that. All right, then last question.
I mean, I just was pulling like.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So last question. You starred with, let's be honest, you starred with some major actors in your time. So Bradley Stryker, can you name me 10 or 20 actors or actresses that you haven't starred with in anything yet, but you would like to star with in something before you decide to give up acting?
Well, I mean, so we'll start with those four.
And yet again, there's another person who wants Meryl Streep.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't? And then, I mean, then the list just goes insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes to Brad Pitt would be fun.
That's 5.
Leo would be fun. Why not? Who else? Margot Robbie. I can't say her name. I don't remember her name. She was in Lady Bird. Saoirse Ronan? Is that her name?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her first name either, mate.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Matt Damon, because he seems like the nicest guy on the planet, probably.
7.
Man, who else is this? Just like
Technically, you can't have Matt Damon without Ben Affleck.
Okay, he can be in there too. Oh, Kirby, the one that just did the is it Vanessa Kirby?
Yeah, Vanessa Kirby, yeah.
Oh, so talented.
That's fine.
Ben Foster would be fun.
That's a name I've not heard in a while.
He's so talented. Did I say Leo? I would work with Leo. He'd be fun.
I think you did, but I'll count it anyway, just in case you didn't.
He's very talented. Now I can't pronounce his name. What is the guy's name? Daniel? Is it Obaganu or? Watch this. I could look up his name.
Yeah, look up his name. You have time.
Oh, I just had. So there's two guys. One of them the guy I could say from Get Out, but I can't pronounce his last name.
I think it's Daniel Kaluuya, I think.
Or Kaluuya. It looks like Kaluuya, I guess what it would be. And then here's the other one. They are both. Oh, it's David Oyelowo.
Yep, I know who you mean, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And then oh, come on. I just had it. He played I just talked about him yesterday. He played Churchill.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, but then the other one as well, American actor. Song and Dance Man.
Oh, hold on. Is it from the Churchill years? Because I remember that movie.
Watch this. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. See, this is funny because what a funny exercise when the truth is, John Lithgow.
Oh, John Lithgow. Oh my God.
This list could go on. This list could go on forever. Let's see. I need some more women. What are some more women I want? There's so many I want to work with.
There is. I'm in the same boat, mate. I get near enough every single day as my other half, who is also my manager, says, "Who do you want to interview?" And I'm like, "Where do you want me to start?"
Yeah, where do you want me to start? Kate Blanchett, Emma Thompson.
What about Jeff Goldblum?
Judi Dench. Jeff Goldblum used to be one of my teachers.
Oh, really?
So the answer would be yes. He's one of the most eccentric human beings on the planet.
I would love to meet Jeff Goldblum one day. And then I would provoke the wrath of my sister because she absolutely loves Jeff Goldblum.
he is so eccentric. It's an absolute joy to watch that man talk. Much, you know what I mean? Just watching him exist is so fascinating. There's something about him that's just so amazing and so. Oh, you know who else? Because I really enjoyed him as a director too. Is Bradley Cooper. I liked his movie.
Yeah, I did.
Because can we call her an actor? What's the singer? Lady Gaga. Yep. And that would be just because, like, this is the thing too, right? Like, I think you can tell from my list, I'm just naming the people who I respect their talent. Like, I'm just going through a list of, like, it'd be really easy for me to go, who am I the most attracted to? But I think I'm most attracted to the talent.
Yeah. And that is your 20, sir. You can happily go on if you want.
No, I mean, this is what I could spend all day doing this. So it's just not going to be clear.
So that in probably what has been the easiest quiz that I've ever had since I've actually done this, ladies and gentlemen. Deadly assassin turned musician, Bradley Stryker. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure, Bob.